Welcome to the Straight Red Card. And today, Brett and I are going to, well, Brett, we can't really avoid it. It's on the news all this evening here. Bob Bradley has been let go by the United States men's national team, the USSF. And interesting thing, of course, maybe it's not interesting, it's maybe obvious to a lot of people, but Grant Wall tweeted, and he said, you're not going to be surprised. No one's going to be surprised about the replacement. And I guess that, I learned from some friends that's going to be announced tomorrow. I don't know why it's a big secret. Might as well just say, I don't know why they didn't just come out today and say, hey, Bob Bradley's fired and we have a new coach and his name is Jurgen Klinsmann. Just get it over with.
Well, this obviously isn't the reason why they're doing this. Maybe they're still hatching out specifics on the contract and everything like that.
This late in the game, really? And they're going to make an announcement tomorrow?
He's already signed and everything. Maybe they're just working out small things or whatever. I don't know. But anyways, it is possible that USSF just likes being in the news. They like the attention. When I say news, I'm really lenient with the term news.
I was going to say.
They're not going to be in the local newspaper front page or anything like that. But, hitting up ESPN or all those sites and everything, having the fans talk about it on the blogs and just open forums and stuff.
I just watched ESPN for a half an hour, and they were still talking about North Carolina's college football coach being fired. So I guess it hasn't hit ESPN yet.
It's on their main page.
All right,
not the page, but it's on their website. We'll put it that way.
All right.
But, maybe they just like to let people discuss and talk about it and drum up a bunch of rumors. Because you mentioned Klinsmann, but there's also talks of people saying, "Hey, let's give it to
Kreis."
All sorts of there's various MLS people. You have Kreis, you had
Schmidt,
Nier, you had Schmidt. There were even talks with Wall's tweets that maybe Arena is going to be coming back. Who knows?
What?
I would assume that it's Klinsmann as well.
You've got to be kidding me.
There was also a rumor out there that
Arena? No, come on. Who said that?
It was posted on an open forum on Big Soccer.
Well,
they had quoted somebody's tweet.
That would be the opposite of what Grant Wall tweeted today.
No, exactly. Yeah,
that would be a shock.
I think it's been put to rest. I think everybody's already accepted the fact. Everybody who's followed the last couple hours of this news, they've accepted the fact that it's probably Klinsmann. And a lot of people are excited about it. There are some that are like, well, it's not going to make too much of a difference, and then they go from there. So
okay, well, I know that in about 5 minutes, a lot of our, friends in the journalism world are actually going to really know who it is if they don't already. It sounds like Grant Wall already knows. My question to you is, well, what's the big deal with the secret? I just don't understand it. But anyhow. So that's the deal. It's probably Jurgen Klinsmann, and if it isn't, I guess we'll all really will be surprised tomorrow. Because I'm not sure, listen, I like Sigi Schmidt, but I don't know about going down the road about his health. So, he's going to have to stick around for 3 more years. Well, anyhow, that's a whole other story. And then I'd love to see Jason Kreis, but isn't that kind of, he's still a young guy. Then there's plenty of time for him to be the United States national team coach. Why not give him a few more years in the MLS? So the fact that Grant says it's not a surprise leads me to think that it's got to be Jurgen Klinsmann. And if it's Jurgen Klinsmann, I don't know what the hell that really means.
Well, it depends on how you take it. They're all in California right now, referring to USSF. From what I gathered from his other tweets.
So they're already in California. That's a giveaway.
You got to imagine that it has to be him. However, some people. I'm in one of these that I wouldn't be surprised if they hired another MLS coach. I'm just saying. He's saying that you're not going to be surprised. So would we really be shocked if instead of hiring somebody outside the box, they hire another MLS manager? I don't think we would be.
Yeah.
I think some people would be depressed and let down, but I don't think they'd be shocked.
Yeah.
So you can take it for what it's worth. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Who else in California is qualified to be the United States national team coach?
Outside of maybe BA? I don't know.
Well, what about the San Jose Earthquakes guy?
Yellow, yeah.
I mean, Yallop's been around the block, right? I mean, so I guess that's not altogether impossible either. He was
probable. It's not impossible.
Yeah, I mean, he was thought of at one time as a fantastic coach, manager. All right, so, nothing more to say there, I don't think.
Not really.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. I guess we'll know more tomorrow, and then, I mean, we've already had the Klinsmann discussion so many times here. I just don't feel like having it again.
What's sad is that people will probably know the answer by the time they listen to our show.
Yeah, well, you're probably right. Depends on, I guess.
So take it with a grain of salt, our conversation here.
That's right. Cut us some slack. If Grant Wall misled us, then blame him. That's all I'm saying. Blame Grant Wall. That is, after all, what Bill Archer does. Anyhow. All right, Bill, just a little right there on you. All right, okay. Let's talk about that fantastic All-Star game last night. And the thing about the All-Star game is now everybody and their mother online today doesn't want to do this anymore. They don't want to have the MLS All-Star team play Manchester United or any of the big teams. Now, I didn't see them necessarily complaining like this before, Brett, when we were beating West Ham, Chelsea, Rangers, tying Everton. I just didn't see these complaints. And all of a sudden, when we play, what could be one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the world, and we were beaten soundly, now nobody wants to do this anymore.
Well, I was at the MLS All-Star game against Chelsea. It was at Toyota Park, and it was a good game, fun game to watch. We did end up winning. However, I don't necessarily remember that Chelsea played pretty much an A squad for at least half of it. I think they pretty much started some starters mixed in with some reserve, and then brought in other starters as the game went on. Same argument can be made about Manchester United, but in all honesty, what we're noticing here is it's something that everybody already acknowledges, but we don't need to actually see, is that there's just a massive talent difference between, well, hell, even Manchester United's reserves compared to our stars of the league.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with the team that we had. It's just you throw a team together. They have about 2 days to warm up and develop some form of chemistry, and then not only do you play them for only half, then you throw in other subs throughout the entire game, and it's just it gets sloppy, it gets messy, and there's no chemistry, no cohesion at all. It makes the MLS look bad.
Yep.
And I just said the MLS, so it makes me look bad now. Jesus.
Yeah. Well. Well, you could make the argument, Brett, that we didn't even play our best team. I mean, when you have Beckham and Davis playing inside instead of out, I mean, how many times if you got a guy like Brad Davis who, with the crossing ability, and I think maybe even Tight Shirt made this argument last night, what's he doing playing center midfield? And Beckham, you have some quality people at your fingertips here, and maybe it would have looked a little self-serving for Baca to start Lynn Pierre, but I guess he wasn't actually he's in the inactive roster because the players voted for him. But I mean, if you could pick other people who are at least slated or on the charts for the MLS All-Stars, you could have started Lynn Pierre and Shallery Joseph together in the midfield and put Davis and Beckham, if you played a 4-4-2, out wide, and then started maybe Henry and De Rosario or Henry and Hasseley. Then it becomes a little bit more formidable as far as the offensive attack goes, I think.
Yeah.
I just think what we did last night, formation-wide, amounted to midfield suicide. We were just so spread out. We got took into camp by Man United, And, I think Winalda said it was the worst managing he's ever seen in an All-Star game by an All-Star manager. And I think he may be on something. And Tight Shirt said that. Lawless, I think, intimated that. Maka certainly last night intimated. He sort of took the same bend. So the question is, you mentioned before when we were talking that these guys only have 2 days to practice, 2 practice days together as it is. So, what could you possibly expect but a pretty poorly played game?
Well, and and you have to worry about some of the player selection is decided primarily on the fans, and some of the people will strictly pick their favorite player rather than who's necessarily best. I'm not saying that any of the players that were out in the field didn't deserve to be there. But it did seem that we had it seemed like Bakke basically took a roster and put as many superstars as you could possibly fit onto the team, onto the starting lineup, and try to form it. Even if you took the original starting lineup, you could rearrange it and make it a better starting lineup.
And a 4-4-2, you could.
And a 4-4-2, yeah. And I don't know, it screamed more like a sideshow circus, trying to get as many stars out there, trying to appease some fair weather fan from Jersey who doesn't attend MLS games normally. I can go to this game and I can see, Henry, I can see, blah, blah. It just seemed like a superstar game match, and didn't look like that.
You have to start Henry, though. He is.
No, I'm not saying you shouldn't start.
He's a lead scorer, and hell, I would have started. Like I said, Henry.
I agree with that. Like I said, I'm not saying that none of the stars shouldn't have started, but I'm just saying maybe better positioning, or perhaps one or two of them replaced with a certain player that might fit a role better rather than just saying a superstar.
Well, yeah. Well, how about just 4-4-2 and not playing Bobby Convey at all? He was just not good last night, and. There were some other guys that didn't play their best last night, but again, it could be because there's not a lot of time to develop that chemistry. But I tell you who did have chemistry last night, and that was Beckham and Henry. Mm-hmm. Beckham threw some lasers just throughout the whole first half. Some great passes, and anybody that says he's washed up, well, he's slower than he used to be, but boy, the guy can put the ball on a dime. And I would have liked to have seen Henry take that, pass near the end of the first half instead of trying to control it, just one-time it right into the back of the net. But that's asking a lot. But Henry is a superstar, right? He could do that.
I was going to bring up that play too. Well, and Beckham doesn't need to be a 100-yard sprinter. He doesn't have to be. He's got that laser pinpoint passing, whether it's a nice 20-yard pass or if it's a 40-yard cross across the field to an open winger. He's got that laser technology to make him a better distributor. I
just don't understand. You had Beckerman, you have Limpier. Well, you don't really.
You've got better center midfield options.
You have Shallory Joseph and Beckerman. You had options to play in the midfield. There was no. If MLS was smart, they would have figured out a way. First of all, to have people like Richey there, that would have been a nice from the start, and Hasseley and Janino and Alonso from Seattle should have been on this team too. I'm just saying that there is a way to have a solid midfield, so guys like Beckham and Brad Davis, can play the wings like they naturally do. And then if you put somebody like Hasseley up front, who's 6'4", with Henry, who's super skilled, then you have some there's some scary stuff there. Now, the back four is still a problem because, Ream looked really kind of out of it last night, and Olave was great until he went out, but a back four was still suspect. I thought Cameron played well, but not well enough. But in the end, what it really comes down to is we probably could have had a more formidable offensive lineup at the beginning and a more formidable, more conservative 4-4-2, I think would have done better. So